So my name is Stephen Kersley. I am Managing Director of BrewDog Distilling Co. Have been in the spirits industry now for going up for 13 years. Um, Became very obsessed with the distillation process when I was a tour guide in my hometown distillery of Oban on the west coast of Scotland. And since then, it's just been a journey through the world of not just whiskey, but gin, vodka, rum, soon to be tequila, and cocktails as well. So, historically or traditionally trained in whiskey production, which has evolved to gin, to vodka, to rum, underpinned by just a real obsessiveness with quality and being able to influence flavor and quality for each of the spirits that I just mentioned. And since 2020, I've been BrewDog's managing director, so stepped away from that operational day-to-day oversight and now look after the other business functions as well, namely our marketing, brand, and sales team. So BrewDog Distilling was kind of an inception that came from Martin Dickey, one of the BrewDog co-founders, uh, had probably back in 2014. He reached out to me at the end of that year, and we started to kind of have a few conversations back and forth on what it might look like. I was managing a whiskey distillery in the Speyside area for Diageo at the time, but really had as I said, an obsessiveness with trying to be experimental and innovative, and BrewDog Distilling was always going to be a really good fit because their ethos, especially on the beer side, has always been to kind of tear down boundaries and put flavor and quality at the heart of everything that they do. So it was a very kind of synergistic relationship. Joined there in 2015, and we've just been experimenting and innovating ever since. And that's demonstrable through our portfolio. It's very eclectic. It's quality focused. Each of the spirits that we distill, we distill in the distillery, and we've got one of, if not the most ambitious and artisanal and eclectic, versatile distilleries in the world, and that we're really not limited or bound by a particular style of spirit. We can make incredible gin, we can make incredible vodka, rum, whiskey. If we could get agave in Scotland, we could make incredible tequila with this equipment as well. So every part of our operation is geared up to be innovative, but to also deliver the best quality spirit that we can. And the equipment is not always, or not always the most important piece on that quality message. A lot of it comes from the ingredients that we use. So we scour the earth for the best juniper that we can find. We look for the best and most interesting varieties of barley for our whiskey. Our molasses comes from the Caribbean that we then ferment and distill in our distillery in the northeast of Scotland. So we're definitely not a jack of all trades. We like to think that we're masterful across all of those categories that we play in, and the evolution of the distillery, which will be, when we start to age or release our aged whiskey and aged rums in the years to come, will really be a homage and a testament to that ethos, because we want to be driving a positive conversation around what whiskey and rum can be, through a message which is underpinned by quality. So as I mentioned, we've got a very eclectic portfolio that covers a lot of different categories. At the moment, we have our Lone Wolf Gin, which is a very classic juniper forward London dry style. We took circa, I think it was about 180 distillations to get that recipe right. And the reason for that was because we always knew that it was going to be quite a complex gin, but very inherently classic in its delivery. So juniper was very important for us. So what we did was we went around the globe and we tried to source juniper from different parts of the world, mainly to understand where the best juniper could be sourced from. So we went to the Balkans, we went to Scandinavia, Italy, Scotland, Canada. Um, the best juniper comes out of Italy, in Tuscany particularly. There's a really high oil content within the juniper there that we absolutely loved, and it was just packed full of flavor. So we go to to Tuscany once a year, and we kind of select the berries that we want to harvest and then take them back to Scotland. And we did that with all of the botanicals in our gin. From coriander, angelica, citrus peel in the form of grapefruit and lemon. So it's a painstaking sort of recipe build, getting the kind of quantities and the ratios of each gin botanical right. Going on to our spiced rum, this is called Duo. It's just joined the portfolio in the last 4 months. This is a homage to the distilling culture of Scotland, but also the Caribbean, and then amalgamating or colliding those two together to create a liquid which is really, really special. So we obviously are not blessed with cane sugar fields in the northeast of Scotland, unfortunately. So quite rightly, rum has been a spirit which is synonymous with the Caribbean and that tropical climate, and that's fantastic. In a similar way to whiskey is synonymous with Scotland. But what's amazing about distillation is it's global, right? If you can get your hands on the ingredients, you can take spirits that are more akin to a region or have a particular provenance, and you can put your own expression on those, and that's what we tried to do with Joe. So what we've done is we have our molasses that comes to the distillery in 28 tons in one go, and we ferment that, and then over the course of the next 2 weeks we'll distill that, and we'll make a delicious white rum that is inherently Scottish. And then what we will do is we will blend that white rum with a portion of aged Caribbean rum, which is a blend of Jamaican, Barbadian rum, which we source from the Caribbean, and it's between 3 and 5 years old. And then once those two rums are blended together, we infuse 100% natural flavors on top of those. Things like orange zest and lime zest, ginger for a little bit of prickly heat and spice, cola nut. We also use a portion of figs in our rum, and of course a little bit of Madagascan vanilla. And what's so exciting about this rum is that it's very classic in terms of spice. It tastes like spice, but if you compare it to, I guess, the mainstream spiced rums on the shelf in a grocery supermarket, for example, it's completely different because we've actually tried to create something that is authentically spiced. A lot of these rums that are on the shelf are really laden with vanilla and sugar, and there's not much craft that's gone into to creating these. We're really passionate about the fact that we've done and constructed a liquid which is bursting with story, but also great ingredients as well. And then our vodka, made in our distillery in Ellen. We have an incredible distillery which, as I mentioned before, has the versatility to create any style of spirit that we like. Vodka, I would argue, is one, or if not the most difficult spirit to make. And that is because there is absolutely nowhere to hide if you make a mistake. It's kind of like the lager of the spirits world. If you've got an off flavor or something that's wrong with a lager, there's nowhere to hide because the flavor is quite neutral. And if you think about the definition for vodka, where it is colorless, odorless, tasteless, if you have something in there which is not quite right, then it's going to stand out significantly to the detriment of the customer experience. So we have a fully copper distillery, which really aids with the purification of spirit. Copper is a wonderful metal which purifies spirit when it comes in contact with it in the vapor form. And to get our vodka to the required ABV, which for the UK is 96%, that's 96%, we have a 20 meter, what we call a rectification column. And basically what that column does is it removes water from the vapor, in the vapor phase, and it takes only the purest alcohol, the ethanol, to the very top of it, and we capture it, and that is then going to be filtered just once and bottled as our abstract vodka. A lot of quality messages that come out of the vodka category and the market are, filtration equals quality, or has a link to being synonymous with a better quality or more luxurious spirit. You've probably heard this, 5 times filtered through diamonds or 10 times through charcoal. As I mentioned, we only filter once, and that's because we don't need to filter. If you do everything right up front, i.e. working with the right ingredients, the right distillation process, there's not really much left to filter out. If you have to filter something 10 times, why? Filtering removes flavor, bad and good. So we make sure that we try and get as much of the good flavor in there as possible, so we don't have to filter. And then in the next few weeks, we have we have just launched our brand new range of delicious bar quality cocktails that are ready to drink in a can. The brand's called Wonderland. It uses all of our spirits that I've just mentioned as the base spirit for the cocktails, and we call that out in the can. So we've got, I guess, custodianship of the quality that's going into these drinks from the get-go. And what we've tried to do here is, we've tried to just create a bar quality experience at any point where or when the occasion calls for it. So whether that's in your home, or whether you're on the beach, up a mountain, you're going somewhere with friends, you want to have a cocktail on the way, we are encouraging everybody to go on a little bit of an adventure with cocktails. And this brand is very new. We've got five cocktails in the range: a passion fruit martini, espresso martini, Paloma, a margarita, and also a mojito. And going forward into 2024, we're really excited about expanding that range into to other serves as well. And in the future, or in the next 2 weeks, we've got a launch with Morrison's. They're the first retailer that's going to back Wonderland, which is incredibly exciting, and we're hoping to make more Wonderland available across the UK in the next year or so. And then lastly, we do have, as if we didn't have enough on the go, we have our tequila launching in the end of this year. Now, tequila is slightly trickier for us to distill ourselves, and the reason for that is that, like Scotch whisky, there's a very large provenance stipulation when it comes to how tequila is made, and it has to be made in the state of Jalisco in Mexico, and it has to be distilled from 100% agave, if you're going to call it 100% agave. So 2 things there that we can't overcome. One, we don't have agave in Scotland, but more importantly, Scotland is not in Mexico. So we have worked with an incredible partner, the Orendine family, one of the founding families of tequila within the town of Tequila in Mexico, which is incredibly exciting. They do not typically work with many other brands. You'll be aware, just from this boom that's taken place in America, that there is such an appetite for tequila that a lot of celebrities, etc., they're all kind of jumping on the bandwagon. And the Orendine family have made a decision to say, actually, no, we don't want to work with brands that are just going to, drive sales through a celebrity endorsement. We want to work with brands who care deeply about the liquid, really are passionate about it. So again, there was a good synergy between the two of us when we started talking, and that brand's going to be called Casa Rios, House of Light or House of Lightning, and it will be launching before the end of this year. For us, one of the big learnings when we were rebranding, and this kind of goes without saying, is that rum drinkers aren't vodka drinkers aren't gin drinkers aren't rum drinkers. And uh, one of the kind of learnings that we really kind of listened to when we were developing these brands was making sure that when we launch, that each of these brands has their own platform to stand in isolation of everything, but kind of umbrellaed under the BrewDog Distilling Co. family, but really kind of communicating and talking about their own credentials, um, and making sure that we were talking to the right audience for those brands. I think previously in the past we fell into the trap of speaking to one audience through BrewDog Distilling Co. And what that meant was that we were talking to a lot of beer consumers, beer customers who drink BrewDog beer and also drink premium spirits. But there's a lot of people out there, the majority of premium spirits drinkers who maybe don't have that affinity with BrewDog. So that was a major step change in terms of our brand and marketing strategy. And then I think another one that I would call out is um, just the blood, sweat, and tears of 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 developing four brands in a very short space of time within 8 months. And I think one of the key learnings is for me is two things really, and I'd use resilience and momentum to really sum up the the kind of sentiment, right? The resilience being you always will come up against the most what feel like the most insurmountable challenges, whether that's getting suppliers to work with you on a particular timeline, which is extremely stretching, getting them to deliver at the quality you need, and when you need it. Um, Issues with, we've got four amazing new bottles that are completely bespoke and were designed within 4 months. And they're very intricate in their own way. And not having done this before, we fell into a lot of traps of the practical um, integrity of them. They have to work in different channels, on trade and off trade. And we had a lot of design constraints that were put on us at the end because we worked out actually, okay, this actually would be an issue. For example, in a speed well where you've got all these bottles lined up together. If you look at our abstract bottle, you've got this incredible kind of geometric shape at the top, which if you hit the bottle at a certain angle, this is in previous designs, then there was a risk of the glass splintering. So you're like, oh, okay, we've got to go back to the drawing board and redesign this. But once you start to kind of overcome those issues, you build momentum. And momentum is an amazing thing because when you've got it, you really feel unstoppable. And I think in the last the last 2 months since I've seen you in Waterloo, when I seen you in Waterloo, I think it felt like we just ran about 3 Ironmans back to back, and it was we were that night drinking a few cocktails, and it was the first time we'd actually managed to kind of exhale, and sit down and talk to people, because it had been go 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 for so long. But since then, we've got our spirits into customers' hands. We've got it onto shelves, and we're just starting to build momentum. And the power of momentum is an amazing thing, and it's really kind of put all those sort of difficult memories of getting these things to launch, out of the head, and you're down now. We're now just focused on what's to come. So our strategy, long term, is going to be it's going to be predicated on Scotch whiskey and aged rum. So I joined BrewDog, and Martin will tell you the same, that we joined to set up a whiskey distillery, and I often say that we're a whiskey distillery that's got a gin problem, because historically all of our capacity for distilling was tied up in the same equipment. So if you imagine when gin sales and vodka sales are going like that, and you use the same equipment to make your whiskey, the capacity for whiskey actually declines. So in the last sort of 3 years, we've had to wrangle this sort of trade-off between our desire and innate sort of temptation to make whiskey, but temper that with the fact that we've got a burgeoning white spirits, namely in the form of vodka and gin portfolio. So we made the investment into a brand new still last year, and we got that installed, and that's really going to step change our ability to produce whiskey going forward. And our plans are to lay down, over 2,000 casks a year, starting this month actually. So that will take a lot of the focus of the team, just because it's a huge operation and undertaking itself. But it's also kind of cool for us because it gives us our chance to flex our creativity. It means that we get back around the drawing table around what the future of our whiskey brand is going to look like, and also our dark rum brand. So the future, whilst we will be 1,000% focused on what we've got currently in the portfolio and making that as successful as it can be and building these brands in the next few years, the long-term focus is going to very much, focus on our whiskey strategy and maturation program.